Sammi here, and today we're here to talk about mine and Maddie's relationship over the past couple of years since starting Sales Sniper and going from not much to a lot. We are in Sydney and we've been in lockdown now for like 3 or 4 months. I don't even remember how long it's been. So please no judging on the roots, the lack of nails done. I know this is mostly boys watching.
I haven't had a haircut.
But girls, if you're watching, please.
Hey, what's up? Matt here. This is my wife. That's how you can tell I'm good at sales. Today what we're going to do is a quick Q&A. So over the last, say, couple years, started Sales Sniper, went into 7th level, and have grown, I guess, sort of 2 8-figure businesses in that time. And I put it up on my Instagram and I was like, hey, has anyone got any questions about, building a business, what it's like to be married to a douchebag that does nothing but work, and a salesperson, and then you're sort of doing that with kids in the mix and all that kind of stuff. So we've got some good questions that we're going to answer. We'll go back and forth, talk about the journey that's kind of been happening. So I can actually I can talk to the story about how we met. We met at a personal training course.
Yeah, we both used to be personal trainers.
Yeah.
You were in the military before that. I was in school before that.
Yeah.
Because I'm 4 years younger than you.
And I was a bit verbose as a younger man.
What does that even mean?
Like a bit loud and obnoxious.
Yeah, but it was good arrogant. You know how there's bad arrogant and then there's good, like, cheeky arrogant? That's what I'm attracted to anyway. Bit of wit, bit of banter.
Yeah, so when we...
Keep up with my intelligence and wit.
Yep, that's true. We had an introduction, and I stood up and I said, hi, my name is Matt. I'm a Special Forces sniper, and yes, ladies, I am single.
And I was like, not for long.
So yeah, and then from there, we started dating straight away. I had an international, because I just got out of the Army. I was actually technically still in the Army when I was in that course. But a couple months later, I was out. And then I had I was going to travel for an entire year because I just kind of wanted to decompress and learn how to be a human being again. And we knew that going into the relationship. Yeah.
I wasn't impressed, but I knew it going in.
Yeah. But then I kind of went overseas. We left it at that. And then we stayed in contact. And then, I don't know, about 6 or 8 weeks in,
yeah,
I said, hey, do you want to come over? And then I had a bunch of money saved from the Army. And she was only 21. So she didn't have any money. So I was like, just come over and we'll travel together. And then we traveled together for another, 4 months?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Sammi came back home.
Europe and America.
Yeah, it really kind of solidified our relationship because I guess just to travel and kind of live in each other's pockets that early on, I guess it was a bit of a test, but we passed it.
Yeah.
I then traveled for another 6 weeks, I think, and then came back.
Because I was over it.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to go home.
Yeah, I did another 6 weeks around Eastern Europe and China. And then, came back and began my life as a personal trainer. About 2 years after that, opened the gym. And then after that, we opened a bunch more gyms with a guy who had a few gyms. So
when he says we, he doesn't mean him and I. I had my own personal training business at a separate gym because we needed to have our own lives as well.
That was doing really well. And then I completely burnt out. Got very angry with the structure and how things were being run. Had a few choice disagreements with the way in which things were being handled. So I left. Came back to my other business. He decided that even though we'd gone into partnership over here, he decided that he didn't need me anymore over here. So said something along the lines of, well, if you do come back, I'm just going to shut it down and fire everybody. So I said, well, that doesn't seem fair. So anyway, best thing that ever happened to me, because then I started the Sales Sniper, and now I make more money personally every single month than that business has ever done in a month. So I'm pretty happy about it. I wish all them all the best anyway.
Of course. It was the biggest cliche. The best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah, it really was very hard at the time. I reckon I gained, 40 pounds from the stress. I was in a bad way.
Yeah, and I was 7 months pregnant or 6 months pregnant.
Yeah.
In summer, our second baby.
Yeah. And then I didn't really know what to do. So the business that I've been running for 10 years, I was no longer a part of. The business that I've been running for the 2 years, I just left it because I was just done. And I had no thing. So the one thing
I was full-time mom, so I wasn't working because I had Jack.
Yeah, well, we had a 2-year-old and she was 7 months pregnant. And I was just like, well, I know how to do fitness sales, so I just started contacting gym owners and saying, do you want me to do your sales? And I was lucky that because of the business that I'd been in, that business was known for its sales, and I was the guy who ran the sales. So I managed to get a few gyms. From there, a few more gyms. I reached out to James, who was the manager of one of the gyms that I was running. And then I was like, do you want to do it with me? Sweet. And then anyway, Marco was the head of sales, was like the main sales guy for that other gym chain that I used to do sales for. And then, I brought on Marco on a salary because he demanded a salary to move over, which is totally fair enough. And he demanded a higher salary. I couldn't afford it. So I think I just told him we could afford it and then
figured it out.
Yeah. I think I had...
We paid some people's salaries just out of our own pocket for a little while.
Yeah, I paid salaries. Yeah, instead of paying me, I paid them for a little bit. And then it all just kind of started to work out.
Yeah, it's hard to remember specifics.
It was very quick.
Yeah.
It was very stressful.
And I was in the newborn haze as well. I wasn't part of it.
It was truly driven by the need to succeed because the consequences of failing were catastrophic.
Because of me and the babies.
Well, we would have been destitute.
Yeah. We would have just had to have gone back to being personal trainers at gyms.
Well, we would have had to move in with your parents.
Yeah. Yes.
Nobody wants that. No. Nobody wants that. I might even join the army again. You never know.
No.
So one of the questions comes from Stefano. He's at Dahlia. He says, how do you prioritize things between business and family?
I'll just say straight up that Maddie and I met, how long have we been together? 12 years, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm 33 now, he's 37. So we met when we were 21 and 25. And then had babies about 6 years later, I think it was, after we were married and stuff like that. And he's the sort of guy, as I'm sure a lot of you know, is very, very strong-willed, optimistic, not risk-averse. He's a strong person. And he needs a strong lady beside him, which is, I like to think that I am. So with regards to this question, I play a role in that. Like, I make sure he does prioritize some time with his family and spend time with his family. If I didn't say anything, I feel like you would probably work. Like, you love being with the kids, but
I find it very hard to turn off.
Yeah, you find it very hard to turn off, so I get very, very bossy, and I make sure he does.
We have a very traditional relationship as well, so I'm the breadwinner, and Sammi handles the entire household.
Yeah, but that's all by choice. Like, I wasn't forced into that position. Even when I was 21 and we first met, that's kind of, I knew that I always wanted to be a mum, and that was going to be my main focus in life, all things mum, which I love. Obviously, it's the hardest job in the world, and it's exhausting, but I love it. So it's not like Matt was dictating, saying, I'm going to be the breadwinner and you're going to stay at home. Not the case. This was something we always had an open conversation about and we're happy to do.
Yeah. So essentially, I don't manage work life very well. I think is the sort of short answer. But I'm helped that by Sammi holding me accountable to doing things, and then on the weekends I don't take my phone out with me. I try to do that as much as possible because then I just don't think about it and then I can just be totally in the moment. Otherwise, I'm getting we have 96 staff now, so I'm just getting constant notifications. And if you think about the logistics of that, it's 2 birthdays a month. And 2 birthdays a week. So
and it's day and night because we're in Australia, but he's got a lot of staff and clients in the States. So as we're going to bed, you're getting messages from people waking up in the States.
Yeah, and we've done a pretty good job business structure-wise. Which will go into another one that I'll answer later, in putting in an up and over structure, which is a very militaristic management structure where there's not direct access to anyone who's too many levels above you. But in saying that, we're pretty open people, so people can message us and book in times and that kind of stuff. But that's kind of how we manage it. But I'm not that good at work-life balance. I work way too much. What was your first money splurge after making lots of cash? I think I'll preface that by saying I don't think I make lots of cash. I think I make lots of cash compared to what I used to and compared to traditionally what we've done. But compared to some of my clients, we're poor.
Yes.
So my contextual, we're doing around $2 million a month gross revenue at the time of filming this, and we're pulling in a fairly decent amount. It's usually well over $100,000 a month that we pull in personally.
But in tax.
But in saying that, I have some clients that pull in $10-15 million a year personally. So I don't feel like we are, but in saying that, what's the first splurge? I think like things like that.
No, it was the Rolexes.
Oh yeah. The first splurge was I bought
It was
myself.
when we were living in Perth. I'm not wearing mine. I'm wearing a Dior today. I remember we went to the Crown Casino in Perth and they had a Rolex. It's not a Rolex shop, it's a Kennedy shop. They sell all sorts of fancy watches. Yeah. And we both got like a his and hers Rolex.
We got his and hers Rolexes. That was probably the first ridiculous thing that we bought.
But yeah, this is another one of many.
Yeah.
My ridiculous. This is vintage Chanel. FYI, from I think the late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. Yeah,
we both like, I dress pretty casually, but we both like sort of the more luxury kind of designer stuff. The only thing I really wear in that realm is shoes.
We like the finer things in life.
Yeah,
we always have, even when we were poor, but now we actually get to enjoy it.
Yeah, so there you go. That's what we splurge on. That and holidays.
Yes, holidays. So, we really value travel.
Yeah, we have like decent cars and everything, but we haven't bought a Lambo or anything stupid like that. Well, not that it's stupid, but I haven't decided to buy that. But holidays we love. Like it's like really not over the top, but like we'll get the best thing that we can possibly get on holidays because we both grew up in families that did holidays and we really value that.
We value it because we know it's creating such beautiful memories with our children, and that's like the most valuable thing.
Yes, the kids.
It is.
God. Yeah. Would you consider yourself financially free now? What is your financial goals and how will you get there? No, I don't consider myself financially free yet.
We live in a very expensive city in Sydney. I think it's the third most expensive city in the world. More than New York, more than London, if that gives you any kind of guess. And we live in the most expensive area of Sydney as well, which is the eastern suburbs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we feel very comfortable. Yeah. But like we're still to buy our family home. Like we have investment properties, but not our actual family home, which we're hoping to do within the next year.
Yeah, and to be perfectly transparent, it's just really difficult to buy houses in Sydney.
It's a supply and demand thing more than anything. There's so little available that's good, or even in general. At every auction, there's hundreds of
Anything
people.
below 3 million is a shithole.
3 million Australian. And the problem is everything goes to auction and the listing price is almost always $500,000 to $1 million less than what it ends up going for.
Yeah. So it's just hard to judge. But there's just a lot of demand. You go out there and there'll be 400 or 500 people at an auction. So it's just difficult.
Yeah.
So I think for me, financially free means that my investments cover my lifestyle. So like the passive income stream that I generate from the like individual wealth, not like say like the business treasury. Like I might have a couple $1 million in business treasury, but that isn't really my money. Like that's set aside for specific purposes. Everything that I pull out of that and then put into like say an index fund or crypto or a property, like when those can sustain the lifestyle, that means that I don't have to work anymore, and anything over and above that is just for fun. So that is what I would probably consider financial freedom. For me, that's around $30,000 a month. That's sort of the number that I'm trying to get to with sort of passive investments. The plan to do that is just to keep pulling as much cash out of the business as reasonably as possible given the growth targets that I have, and then from there investing that in crypto, property, and managed funds.
And because we lived so much so paycheck to paycheck for most of our time together, like it's been a very short while that we've not had that, in the, timeline of us being together. So it's still very new, and there's always that thing in the back of your mind, oh, what if that goes away tomorrow? We've got to go back to how we were. Okay, let's make sure that we can do that, all that sort of thing. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen really, but it's always in the back of your mind, especially with, how things have been going. While you've been starting this, we've been in the pandemic, which has thrown the world into chaos. So, like, anything can happen, I guess, is what we've learned. So, we're aware of that. And, we're not going to do anything crazy until we do feel really comfortable.
Yeah, I like being uncomfortable in certain. So like I'll spend a lot of money. The moment we have like a lot of money, like last month I spent $65,000 on courses.
Yeah, you mean you'll invest?
Yeah, I'll invest. Like last month I invested in 2 different businesses. Well, I gave out 2 loans. For businesses, invested in one, so bought equity in another one, That was a couple $100,000. And then from there, I bought about $65,000 worth of courses, which is an investment, because like we had built up a fair bit of treasury, and I was like, oh, okay, when things start to get comfortable, I like to do things and do sort of sometimes over the top things to create an element of discomfort, which then for me, like drives me forward in the business realm and puts me in a position to where I feel like I have to be successful.
He doesn't ever want to be lazy. He's so aware of not being lazy, which he's definitely not. But yeah, it really, he's very, very driven. He always has been, always.
Yeah. And so like I remember like when Sales Sniper was very young, and it was probably only doing, I don't know, $10,000, $15,000 a month as a business, right? Not as like personal take home or anything like that. I met Jeremy Minor, and his coaching program at that stage was 40,000 Australian for the year. It was like paid in full only. And we had like 50 grand cash, and I gave 40 of it to Jeremy. I didn't tell you. Didn't ask you.
No, I think you did, but I think I thought it was the business's money, not our personal money or something like that.
Yeah. Well,
we have shared accounts. He doesn't like control all the money. Like it's completely, if anything, I have more control over the money.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I pay all the bills.
Yeah. So yeah, like I just, you know, I don't have a problem doing that. I'm like, I think risk is a good thing. I think if you have a mentality where you're like, one, if you're holding on to cash, I think that's probably not a great way to be. One, because cash just does nothing for you past a certain point, which is actually kind of a difficult lesson to learn, to be honest. And then, like, second of all, like, if you sort of create that comfort level around yourself, then you struggle to kind of drive yourself forward. So I'm always kind of aware of that and doing things to kind of create discomfort in order to kind of move the things forward. How do you manage your finances between balance of needs and wants?
Well, I guess living from paycheck to paycheck for so long, we're pretty aware of what our like weekly costings are or monthly costings. So we have an account where we have, you know, silly spending basically. What did we call it?
The fun fund.
The fun fund.
Yeah.
So after we've paid all our bills and all that sort of stuff for the month, we then put a certain amount of savings, a certain amount into investments, and then a certain amount into the silly spend fun fund.
Yeah.
Account.
Yeah. So what I try and do is from that sort of things is all of our income goes into one account, and then from there we have like a couple of our major bills come out of one account. So that is a separate account where those bills come out of. Then from there I have an investment account. So whatever I want to put into investments, that goes into there from the income. And then I have a fund, which what I usually do is whatever we made last month from our passive investments, I'll take like a good chunk of that, put it into the fund, and then
that's to spend on like frivolous things like handbags
like
or shoes or whatnot. That's not to spend on like clothing the kids need or dinners out. That's kind of...
We use gift cards for that.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, so it's a part of it. So I use Amex. I have two Amexes. I have a platinum and a black Amex. And then I use them for most of the business costings. They require points. I probably acquire 1 million points a month. For that, I get gift cards, and we get about 4,000 or 5,000 a month worth of gift cards.
Most people will turn that into frequent flyer points, which we'll probably end up doing eventually, perhaps. But because of the pandemic, Australia's been closed off to the world, even domestically. Like you haven't been allowed to leave your own state, so there's been no travel. So we were like, well, what's the point of collecting all these frequent flyer points? We have no idea when Australia's going to reopen. We still don't know, by the way. So we thought, well, let's use them, put them into Westfield, which is like our giant mall here in Australia, or our supermarket gift cards.
Yeah, and then we give them to staff and...
Yeah, give them out as gifts as well.
Yeah, everyone for Christmas is getting gift cards.
Tax-free mono.
How do you mentally handle being in debt and getting out of it? Up until, I don't know, somewhat recently, maybe like a year ago, like we were poor.
Yeah,
like we made decent money, but we're broke.
Yeah, it was... Yeah, probably 2 years, I reckon. 2 years ago, for sure. I'll give you an example. Like, okay, so my daughter, she's turning 3 in December. And when I was about 8-9 months pregnant with her, this is just as you were starting Sales Sniper? Just as you were. So Matt basically had left his previous 2 jobs. And yeah, we were kind of like, what are we going to do for an income? We were really poor. Like, for example... I wanted to buy this little wooden sign for my daughter, and it said, welcome to the world. So it was like something that you just put on your baby's tummy when she's born and take your photo, and it's like, welcome to the world, she's here, that sort of thing, which I thought was so cute. And I ummed and ahed about it for probably 4 to 6 weeks, and eventually I didn't buy it. It was $30. So
there was a medical test we wanted to get that we couldn't afford to get, so we had to ask my father-in-law to borrow the money to get the medical test.
Yeah, it was for part of the pregnancy. It's called the Harmony test. It's where they test the chromosomes.
She's 2.5, so...
She's 2.5 now. So, well, she's almost 3. She'll be 3 in December.
Yeah, she's
it's currently
3.
September.
So,
But yeah, so like, yeah, we were living paycheck to paycheck, and then we were a little bit poor for a while as well, to be honest.
Well, the thing is, like, if you just had a look on paper, like, it was probably making $100,000 a year, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe 120 total.
But our rent was $75,000 a year.
Yeah, and this was like for just a normal. We tried our best to not live above our means, but it was nearly impossible because
we even had just one car. Like, we sold one of our cars, so we just had the one car between us.
I bought like a really cheap motorbike that I could just tool around on.
Yeah,
because it was cheap on petrol.
We lived in Kmart clothes.
We lived in Kmart. I never bought anything.
The cheapest food shop preps.
Cheap food shops.
Cleaned our own house, no cleaners, nothing. Like.
And we just lived in like a normal sort of house.
Yeah.
Right. It was in a decent area, but it's because we had to be, because that's where my work was.
But it wasn't a fancy area. It's not the fancy area of
No,
East.
it's not. It's not where we live
it's
now.
Just like kind of standard.
But yeah,
area.
so like we did everything our best, but we only made enough money to cover the bills without paying tax. So sort of put ourselves into a pretty decent tax debt. It's all gone now. Probably, I don't know, it was probably like an $80,000 tax debt. And then like when I opened the gyms, I'd put myself into like a $90,000 overdraft debt at 18%.
So this is
years before.
Years before. This was like 2012.
So I got fairly comfortable being in debt, but I think like to get out of debt, like you have to have a strategy. If you want to Google, there's 2 major strategies to be used. One's called Snowball, the other is called Avalanche. I've helped a bunch of our sales guys at Sales Sniper get out of debt because, it's just one of those things. Like, you have to accept that you're in debt. You have to accept it. You have to change your lifestyle accordingly, and then you have to have a plan to get out of it. Because if you don't, like, you're just going to be in a cycle where it's impossible to get out of it. We were lucky, I think, to get out of it as we did, because I was able to kind of like purchase my parents' home. And they sort of did what's called an arm's length transaction. So essentially we purchased it without having to put down a deposit. And we moved to Perth so we could catch up financially. So Perth is quite a cheap city to live in. Sydney is very expensive. So we actually packed up the whole family, went over to Perth so that we could afford just to live. And that is when I tripled down on Sales Sniper and put every dollar we could into it, because I knew that by then we'd started to gain momentum. We were getting up to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, and it was sort of growing quite quickly. And so having that mental space to be able to just go fucking breathe, like I don't have to make $15,000 to $20,000 a month just to pay bills, like that was a huge thing for me, to be able to just go and just steam forward. So yeah, man, like if you guys are in debt, like the way that we did it, we just changed our situation, did the best that we could, moved into a cheaper area, reduced all of our expenses, had a plan to get out of it, did it, and then really when the money started coming back through, we moved back to Sydney, because we just found that we were happier here. And, moved into a place that's 2.5 times more expensive, and I literally don't even notice when the rent comes out. And our rent's about $15,000 a month. I don't notice when it comes out. Yeah. So I guess I don't know if we ever talked about this. Like, what's it been like for you?
Well, like, I married Maddie for richer or poorer. Like, money for me was never ever ever a factor when choosing a partner. It never has been. I don't know if that's like a luxury, like I've not had to worry about it or something, but it's never been something that I've considered in a partner, as long as they're not like a lazy prick or whatever. But it's surreal. I'm so focused on our family side of our life and my children, and making sure everything is smooth transitions for them. Matt doing well in his business makes him happy, and that makes me really, really happy. And the money side of it is fabulous, because it makes our life just easier. It means all the things that I do with the kids, the activities, the schools or the daycares they go to, the things they need, toys and clothes and stuff like that. That's all easy now. So it means I can focus even more on them and the happiness and the well-being of the family. So that's the awesome part for me. yeah, and it is surreal. And obviously I love being able to buy myself nice things too. That's so good. Obviously I'm a girl, I love to shop. But but it's more the less stress on the family and just more happiness, which I love. And they say money can't buy happiness, and I agree with that, but it sure makes things a lot easier.
You can buy a jet ski. I've never seen somebody with that smile on a jet ski. I don't want to come off like we're not like cajillionaires or anything like that, but we're pretty comfortable. But like, it's sort of like, I want to do this video because it's sort of, one is like, it's amazing how fast financial situations can change.
Yeah.
I think. And for me, a lot of that comes down to, first of all, like I've always had the drive to do that, and I've always worked very hard, I think. And I have a relatively decent business acumen, which I can thank my dad for by making me do like business plans and shit when I was a kid, when I wanted to like go on a holiday. It was like, say we have a business plan, like that. But now I can see how that paid off. Because I can take over a business. Like we've taken over 9 businesses this month. And like, so now the portfolio is doing like maybe 60 million a year, in terms of like what we're kind of bringing in as a business. So, it's super interesting. But like the skill set of sales, like meeting Jeremy was like a total and complete game changer for me, because like that methodology of NEPQ, like I just understood it, and I was like, this is the way to communicate with people. And that like literally took me from, I think, a good closer, because I had 10 years of fitness sales experience. So when I came into like sales mentor, I was the best one there by a country mile straight away, without using any of their methodologies, just using the stuff that I learned how to do in fitness. But then when I adapted NEPQ, I literally became like nearly unstoppable at it. And then by showcasing that to Jeremy, he asked me to come and sell for him. And then when I saw kind of the mistakes they were making in business, I made some suggestions. And then from there, NEPQ'd my way into running the company. And now I run both of them. But it really is amazing, like how fast, when you get a skill set like sales or something like that, that you can really kind of turn the tides quite quickly. And so I know it can be scary, but like I think, it might not happen fast for everybody, and I don't think it happened fast for me if you take into account the 10 years of sales experience I had. But I think like there really is like that hockey stick type growth, where it's like, if you start here, the moment you get to like this level of skill set, it really just kind of goes like that. And like for us, the trajectory of the company and the trajectory of us as a family is pretty cool, because like I know where it's going to be in 6 months, I know where it's going to be in 12 months, I know where it's going to be in 5 years. And I look forward to doing all that stuff and, looking back and going like, okay, now we've got Bradley as a client, we've got Ryan Serhnant as a client, we've got all these phenomenal business people, entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants, and all these kind of people that we work with. And being able to surround myself with those people, it just drives me to go harder and harder and further and further. And that's kind of what I love about it. I had an interview on our podcast, which is right here, with a guy called Tay Sweat, who's one of our clients. If you guys don't know him, we'll drop his Instagram over here. He's got like 1 million Instagram followers. Makes a ton of money, like private jets and Bentleys and Rolls Royces. That's all he knows.
Nice.
I mean, he was super poor growing up. His mom was a single mom making 20 grand a year, raising kids, right? And he grew up in the ghetto and all that kind of stuff. But he's super interesting. And I talked to him about money mindset, because he's a very wealthy man. Like so wealthy, he bought a Lamborghini in cash over Instagram, right? For 700 grand US, right? And so he was like, and Ryan Serhnant said the exact same thing.
Oh, my close personal friend.
Yeah, your close personal friend, Ryan Serhnant. You brokered a deal with him.
It's my friends.
Ryan said the same thing, and I said, like, what's the difference between millionaire and billionaire clients? And they both, it's really funny, they both use the same terminology. They both said that the billionaires don't see money as a resource, they see it as a tool.
Yeah.
And then Tay took it even further, and he said, if you want to get there, you have to start using it as one.
Yeah.
And so I think like I was kind of thinking about that after the thing, and I was like, it's the interview, and I was like, I think I kind of do that. I see money as a tool, and I think I started seeing it as a tool, and I think the trajectory and the growth of my personal income in the business has been a direct reflection of this, is because like I know I can fill that bucket. So like I'm happy to empty it because I know I can fill it. And so I think like it might not be, I might not be there yet in terms of being able to see it as a pure tool.
You're definitely using it as a tool lately, though, I've noticed, with the investments and the growing the wealth and like long-term strategies. Like you said, not just keeping money in a bank account, like using it to grow more money.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about cash anymore.
Yeah.
I've learned that lesson from seeing the guys that I see and what their investments do for them. I'm
Yeah.
like, I've had enough rich people tell me to just not hold cash. So I'm like,
to
okay,
invest.
I'm going to listen to them now. You know, like even the amount of cash that we hold in
Which
my
was a
opinion,
hard mindset
is
for us to
way
get
too
out
much
of.
cash.
No, it was a hard mindset for us to get out of because we always had like $0 in our savings account. It
Yeah.
was so reassuring to have like a little lump sum of money in our savings account.
I
which-
reckon 3 years ago we had less than $100
Less than $100?
in our bank account. There was one.
I think the
point there.
lowest we had was $4,000.
4,000.
Which,
That's not anywhere near as fancy.
well, when you're paying $1,500 a week in rent, that goes in less than a month.
Yeah, it's
just
pretty
in rent.
terrifying. Yeah. We
So,
probably had about a week at a time.
yeah, we were paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, yeah, and that was after we sold the car, and then didn't pay off the loan, which is a bit
The
dodgy.
loan to my dad.
Yeah, it's a bit dodgy. Yeah, but I think that whole resource and tool thing, and I think that the more comfortable I get and the more reassurance that I have in my own skill set, that I know that no matter what happens, like I can refill that bucket. I'm more than happy just to use what's in the bucket. To do things that I think will better myself, my employees, my family, all that kind of stuff. So I think like that's a big one, and it's a really hard thing to do, especially early on. Like if you're a sales guy watching this and you're making $5-6 grand a month or whatever, like it's hard to do that. But you really do need to start realizing that like money is fluid and it can come and go, and hopefully we only go up from here, but there might be times where it goes down, all that kind of stuff. So like, but we have to use that as a tool that's going to allow us to, I guess, just, you know, be able to create more things. So that was a really handy thing. And Ryan Serhnant is an way more successful guy than me, and incredibly good at what he does. Tay, again, much better at what he does than what I do, clearly. You know, and so I'm going to take those guys' advice and take that on board and go, okay, well, if I can adapt that kind of mindset, then I can keep pushing everything forward.
Yeah, and it inspires you as well. It's
Yeah.
good to have people that are better than you in your life because it makes you better.
Yeah, like there are some young guys that we have on our books who are clients that make good money. Like I'm talking 22-year-olds that are bringing in personal incomes of 200 grand a month.
Wow.
You know, like, but their businesses make nowhere near as much money as I do. They just choose to take far much more of it. But they will only listen to me because I make more money than them. That is the only reason. So like I'm the one that has to guide them and tell them what to do, and like because they can, you know, it's just an interesting mindset. I don't think it's the right one, but that's why I can tell them what to do, because they know that I'm further along the road than them. But I think you need to have people in your life like that who you can sort of, you know, who you can have as like kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, and then you can get to them, and then hopefully you pass them. And that's the whole point of mentorship, right? Like hopefully you mentor people so well that they surpass you, and then you can see them as, you know, the next thing. You might be noticing that we're wearing different clothes. It's because a lot of people submitted more questions after we'd filmed, so now we're going to come back and edit these in.
That's right.
Okay, good question from Fabiola. How do you say I'm working late again? I don't, though, very often, do I?
No, well, you used to just say it matter-of-factly to me and be like, hey, by the way, I'm finishing at this time tonight.
I'm very important.
And you would do it like last minute. And like when it was just... I mean, obviously, we've always had children since Sales Sniper, so having children and him telling me that last minute is not cool. So I've kind of drilled it into him that he needs to give me notice if he's going to finish late. He almost always knows his whole schedule, though, when he starts in the morning. So it's rare that you finish later than you've told me already.
Within like 15 to 20 minutes. It's pretty rare.
I always want him to be home because our kids go to bed at 7. I always want him to be home, you know, by 5:30 so that he can actually be there for them during dinner and bath time and all that sort of stuff, because they're only little for a small amount of time, you know.
So the answer is carefully. Okay, so date nights. Well, I mean, with COVID, we've been locked down for 4 or 5 months now.
But normally we're really good with date nights. It's something we definitely prioritize because, you know, your relationship needs to be strong for your children. So we used to have a date night once a week. Usually a Friday night.
It's usually like a fancy restaurant.
Yeah, usually we like food, so we do like a fine dining restaurant, and that way we both get
But
together.
something that's most people probably don't know about us is that we like food. It's a very interesting and...
You we like fine
It's
dining.
very rare that people like food.
But it's also that I like to get all dressed up because there's not a huge amount of opportunities as a mum to do that, because when you're a mum with small children, or your friends have small children too, so the partying and the events kind of go out the door for a few years. So yeah, getting dressed up and going out to dinner is good. But we also used to do movies a lot as well, because we love movies.
Yeah, because I'm a veteran, I get dollar movies. So when we were broke, that was the best.
Yeah.
So we'd go to like the shopping center, Coles or Safeway or sort of thing, and then we'd go and get like, a soft drink and like a thing
packet of chips or
something. Cost us like $2. Then we go into our $1 movies.
Yeah.
Boom.
Good times.
It's
so
good times.
and we're very
we do
lucky.
that literally every weekend.
We're also very lucky that we've had people that would babysit our children, which is family, because while they were little, I just didn't really trust anyone else. Every now and then we'll get a daycare worker as well, because I trust them, obviously.
Yeah.
And usually we don't go out until after they're in bed, so like it doesn't affect the kids.
If you're on opposite ends of a decision, who gets their way?
You're going to say me and I'm going to say you. So rude. No.
It depends on what it is.
It's circumstantial. It's probably 50-50, to be honest. We're both very strong-willed.
Yeah.
Or stubborn, as some may say. So we can butt heads when there's a disagreement. But the way we are different is that Matt will want to walk away and cool down, whereas I want to resolve it there on the spot, and it drives me nuts that he wants to walk away.
It drives me nuts she wants to resolve it on the spot.
Yeah, so it's definitely something
that
we
digest things.
we try to work on.
I think, the answer to that question is very circumstantial. It's very rare, though, that we have very opposite views on anything important.
Yeah.
Most of our we have very aligned principles.
Yeah, very aligned. Family, parenting, political, religious.
Everything is sort of very much in alignment that way. So it's very rare that we have. The only thing that we really argue about is like, it's just stupid shit, which is like who's working more and who's more tired.
Definitely the stay-at-home mum.
Yeah. Sammi, how do you keep that ego in check as he becomes more successful with his business? How dare you, Sam?
That's so funny.
Sam's got one leg. Just in case you're wondering.
I mean, Matt's always had like cheeky arrogance about him, even when we were broke. So it's just part of his personality, and I love it. I just don't think he's very grounded. As much as he might talk himself up, it's always in a joking way. Like he's not full of himself. Like he is.
Well, should be.
He should be. He's very down to earth. If he became like a douche, like I'd just be like, "What are you doing?" I'd tell him off, obviously. But it's just not in his nature to be that way. It's always in humour, always.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree with that. Do you guys put attention and effort into communicating well together?
I try to.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, ironically enough, I'm not a great communicator in relationships. I'm very, much more introspective, which is ironic considering how good I am at getting people to open up and tell me shit that they haven't told anyone else.
Yeah, I talk.
It's getting better. It gets better, though, as I get older.
Yeah, I talk a lot. My love language is definitely words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And gifts, obviously. Whereas yours
is
not.
You've got a different bag with you today.
I do. Whereas yours is not. Yours is more like physical touch, typical man. But yeah, I talk a lot, and I try to force you to talk too.
Yeah. I'd say we do put effort into that. We probably do.
We definitely put effort into it.
Well.
Yeah. We definitely. I don't let things linger. That's for sure.
Yeah. Last question is from Candace. Hello, Candace. How do you find time to properly connect between hardcore biz growing and raising kids?
So I think the fact that we're not both working on businesses helps, because we're not just allowing one another just to constantly be on our phones working and like just perpetually working and basically ignoring the kids. Like I'm the family life and he's the work life. So when we're together, I make sure I encourage him to be present with the kids, present with me, all that sort of stuff. Whereas if I was involved in the business, I feel like I'd be encouraging him to keep on working. Come on, let's work, let's hustle. We see relationships like that where they're both working, especially if they're in the same business or company. Yeah. And they kind of just work non-stop.
Which is fine if that's what you want, but it's not really the way that we want to do things.
Yeah. It's just my priority is definitely the family and making sure that we're really balanced that way.
I think it's just about having time set aside. Like these days especially, I have fairly hard stops at 5. Fairly hard stops. Yeah. I do have maybe once a week I'll have a meeting at 8 o'clock at night because I have to speak to. But the kids are going to bed. It usually goes for 45 minutes. It's not the end of the world. And then I try to start too early. The earliest I'll start is 7. Most of the time it's 7:30. But yeah, like it tries to be a fairly hard stop at 5, and then on the weekends try not to have the phone on me while we're out, and then just, do that kind of stuff.
But I will say it has been harder to have like quality time through lockdown because there's nothing to do, and because we have small children, and you're not really supposed to have any babysitters come to the house. So in the evening, like, we're just at home. We can't even go out for a walk because the babies are sleeping. We can't leave them in the house alone, obviously. So there's been no date nights or anything like that for a good 3 months. It's been hard.
It has been. I hope that was helpful, guys. This is my wife. This is me. This is just kind of
Just to clarify.
just kind of a random video about, I guess, what it's been like in the journey and the work-life balance and the benefits of, the modicum of success which we've had so far and how we've managed to handle it so far, and hopefully gave you guys some good advice. And if you do like this type of content, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that kind of good stuff, and we will see you in another video. Thank you.
Bye.